アメリカのコメディアンで司会者のジョー・ローガンは彼のポッドキャストに学者やスポーツ選手、芸能人など様々な著名人を招き、話題は多岐にわたり、さらに深く掘り下げた内容が大変好評である。今回は大胆仮説や陰謀論関連の人気トークをいくつかご紹介。戦争記者のベン・アンダーソンがシリアで爆撃を受けた人たちを救助するボランティア団体ホワイトヘルメットがアルカイダの隠れ蓑であるとの陰謀論について語った。ホワイトヘルメットは瓦礫の中から人々を救出し医療を提供する活動で知られ、国際的に高く評価されており、ノーベル平和賞の候補にもなっている。アンダーソンはネット住民だけでなく、まともな人たちの中にもこの説を主張する者もおり、このような状況では一体何を信じればいいのかわからないと指摘する。
Syria, you know, the white helmets. There are some fairly serious people saying the white helmets are, you know, some kind of media front for Al Qaeda or Al Nusra.
Would you explain the white helmets for people?
So when there's a bombing and a building collapses, they go in and drag people out and get them medical attention as quick as possible.
And people think that they're somehow or another involved in it? They're a front?
Yeah, and the footage is faked in order to drum up sympathy for the rebel-held areas. I mean, I've heard, you know, serious people say that.
Serious people?
Yeah, not loons on Facebook. I've heard, you know.
Like journalists? Or?
Yeah.
古代の謎研究で有名な人気 YouTuber のジミー・コルセッティは、かつて CIA に機密扱いされていた文書、アダムとイブの物語と時局反転に関する説を披露。地球の地軸反転で高さ3キロの大津波などの大災害を引き起こす可能性があると紹介。著者のチャン・トーマスは地球の時局は6500年ごとに90度反転し、そのせいで多くの古代文明が絶滅したと主張。最初の洪水はアダムとイブの頃、2度目はノアの箱舟、そして現在3度目の洪水が迫っており、これは聖書にある天地創造と関連があると書いている。
But the Adam and Eve story, the theory of that is that it happens in cycles of 6,500 years, and that it's a 90-degree flip, but 6 days later, or on the 7th day, it corrects itself.
The planet flip.
Planet flip, 90-degree, and that because of it, the Earth essentially does a standstill. The sun will basically stay in the same spot, causing heating like we've never experienced, and that the wind and the waters continue with their momentum. Because essentially the wind travels at approximately 1,000 miles an hour at the equator. So the theory is that when that event happens, it's going to be cataclysmic. And here's the wild thing is that in that document, it says a continental-sized tsunami being 2 miles high. It would make a lot of sense. Like if you look at the Bible and involving like Revelations and it's saying like
6 days.
6 days on the 7th day, God rested. In that document, it says 6 days, things start simmering down a bit. And by day 7, things are starting over new.
この回では1969年に月に行ったかもしれないことを認めつつも、不可解な記者会見や宇宙飛行士の奇妙な行動などからアメリカの月面着陸はやらせだったという説について語る。
This conference from 1969 when they returned from the moon is one of the most cryptic, weird things you'll ever see. These guys look like they just stole something and they're being questioned. It's weird. They're like fidgety and looking nervous, like they're getting away with something.
So they didn't do it then?
They might have done it. They might have been forced to say some things that they didn't want to say, and that could be part of it.
Absolutely.
You know, they could have done it. If you wanted to have like a conspiracy to wrap your head around that's exciting, it's one of the best ones.
Really, but who benefits from it?
The United States government did because it showed military superiority over the Russians, and we were able to do that.
Sure.
It also, you know, it was the Nixon administration. People were just flat out full of shit.
Well, yeah.
I mean, they were just lying to people left and right back then.
That's government, though.
Yeah, but even more so then because it was unchecked. There was no media.
Social media.
Yeah, there's nothing that would expose them for this unless you watched it on film. There's no YouTube where you can go back and watch the astronauts on trampolines video.
The flat Earth thing is ridiculous.
Watch this. And like their feet are hidden. Look at this. Watch these guys bounce up in the air. It's like they're on some sort of wire, like they're being yanked up into the air.
Oh, yeah.
Like, what the fuck are they doing? And they're playing, like falling down, and it's very weird. But there's videos of the flag moving in a non-existent breeze, which is weird too. And They try to make some logical explanations for why the flag could be moving in a vacuum, and some of it makes sense, but some of it doesn't. It might not have been real footage. What they might have done is use some test footage. Homeboy falls down, and then it looks like he gets yanked back up. Look at this. Whoops.
Oh, he did not. That's not him standing up.
Yeah, what is this?
対談相手の総合格闘家ティム・ケネディは元グリーンベレーの隊員でウサマ・ビンラディンの捕獲作戦にも参加。第二次大戦後、ナチスの高官数千人が欧州から逃れ、様々な手段で南米に渡ったと言われている。目撃証言や機密解除された文書によれば、FBI は戦後、数百万ドルを費やしてヒトラーを捜索。ロシア側はヒトラーの遺体と頭蓋骨を所持していると主張したが、遺伝子検査により骨は35歳の女性のものであることが判明。南米にはヒトラーを見たり居場所を知っているかもしれないナチスの子孫が住むドイツ人コミュニティが未だに存在するとの噂がある。
They declassified a bunch of documents. Both the Israelis, the British, and the Germans and Americans in the past 20 years have been consistently declassifying documents. And there were a bunch of specifically FBI documents that we were spending millions and millions of dollars actively searching for Hitler after the war, as was,
Really?
Yeah, send more FBI agents to South America, to North Africa, go to the Canary Islands, go to Spain, trying to find out where this guy went. So what you had in South America, both Chile and Argentina back to back had fascist regimes. You had Perón, who was part of the Nazi party starting all the way back into the mid-30s. He's the president of Argentina. So the Red Cross, there was about 3 different rat lines that guys were able to successfully get out of Europe into South America. There's no question that we're talking thousands, if not tens of thousands of high-ranking Nazis made it there.
Tens of thousands.
Tens of thousands. And I'm not talking like little soldiers. I'm talking high-ranking Nazis. But what you got in South America were isolated German-only communities. You could go into Bariloche, Argentina, and I'd be like, "Buenos dias, amigos," and they're like, "Guten Morgen." I'm like, "Oh, yeah, I meant good morning. Yeah, sorry, it's 2017, right?" And there's tons of communities. I mean, if you go to Colonia Dignidad, which is now called Villa Bavaria, it is only German.
Wow.
In the center of Chile, in the mountains of Chile, there's no Spanish being spoken there. It is exclusively German.
And these are the descendants of Nazis.
Powerful Nazis.
Holy shit. Are there any legitimate eyewitness accounts of Hitler in South America?
Absolutely, potentially.
Whoa.
Yep, eyewitness accounts. I saw him get off a boat. I saw him meet here. And if it was just some person saying it, it's almost meaningless.
Right.
But if you look at the context of who this person is, the wealth that they have that they shouldn't have, can you explain how you got so rich in 2 generations? Okay, your grandpa got here from Germany in 1946. That's weird. And he's on a legitimate visa with an Argentinian passport. Also weird. And now he's a war refugee that's now worth millions of dollars. How does this work?
ローガンは911の前日にラムズフェルド元国防長官が言及した数兆ドルの使途不明金を引き合いに出し、911が内部犯行であったという陰謀論について論じている。その金がどこに行ったのかは未だ不明で、政府の汚職や隠蔽工作といった憶測を呼んでいる。
The day before 9/11, the day before the attacks, Rumsfeld gave a press conference where he talked about trillions of dollars missing. The day. Then a plane slams into the very part of the building where they were doing the accounting, blows up half the fucking building in the Pentagon, blows up a wall.
According to some estimates, we cannot track $2.3 trillion in transactions.
Okay, now, I don't know. It seems like we should have had it. So we'll keep looking. Oh no, the spot where we looked just blew up. He did say that, and then they did get hit by a plane a couple of days later.
It's unbelievable.
It's so crazy. And no one talks about that $1 trillion.
作家のグラハム・ハンコックは古代の地図に南極大陸が描かれているのは高度な文明が存在した証拠だとの説を披露。1500年代に描かれたピリレイスやオロンテウス・フィナエウスなど1500年代に描かれた地図には 1820年まで発見されなかった南極大陸が詳細に描かれているという。彼の説によれば、これらの地図は失われたより古い原図に基づいており、中世の地図制作者が利用した証拠だと述べる。
Because we didn't discover it until 1820, and yet it's on maps drawn in the 1500s with great detail, which again were based on much older source maps that have now been lost to us. The astonishing thing is the so-called Pinkerton world map, drawn I think in 1813 or 1818, based on the latest exploration data at that. And where Antarctica is, yeah, that one, keep going right, it just shows a hole where Antarctica is. Because it was an honest map. Nobody had found it by then. But if you go back to 1530 or thereabouts, you find Antarctica is present. That map shows Antarctica exactly where it should be. Well, they call it the southern land. Now, what the is it doing on a map drawn in the 1500s, which we know was based on older source maps when nobody knew it existed in the 1500s? To me, the obvious answer is we are dealing with the fingerprints of a lost civilization that mapped the world and that left evidence of that mapping, which ancient map makers found and used and incorporated into their map.
今回彼は死後の世界について語っており、死により心の中に入り口が開かれ、意識が死と同時に新しい領域にアクセスできるようになるという。この考え方は多くの宗教で定番であり、一時的な存在である人間の実存的な苦悩に対処し、理性を保つ理由として考え出されたものだと話す。
Theory that many people have is that death opens up a chemical gateway in the mind. And that chemical gateway takes whatever the soul is, whatever consciousness is, and transports it into this new realm. It allows you, your conscious mind, to access this new realm, which is available to you upon death. And so a lot of the ancient cultures that did ayahuasca and mushrooms, they would talk about this realm as being like a well of souls. There's so many religions that talk about the afterlife. I mean, I get that you would want to come up with something like that just because you wanted to have some sort of a reason to keep going. With the rational mind, when you're dealing with this existential angst of a temporary existence and one day you're just going to be worm food, what's the point of it all? Why don't I end it now? Yeah. It's too much. Life is to live is to suffer. No, there's something waiting for you when it's over.